It is an absolutely fascinating time for news in our industry, and today I've got amazing topics for you. Number one, Overwatch 2. The whole situation with how its PvE content is going to be monetized, because yes, the cancellation of the big hero mode, that was all very bad news, but we at least thought, oh, well, I guess these will just be coming as things we can play as a part of the free-to-play live service. Yeah. Kind of less that, actually, which is a bit rough. Over with Starfield, we have got, well, them saying that, hey, this is going to be the least buggy Bethesda release ever, which is certainly a bullish statement. We've got the Federal Trade Commission raising up their horns against Bobby and his mates over at Microsoft. We then have what may be my most anticipated game, actually, StormGate, looking fantastic from what has initially been shown, and that is an amazing story because it is the team of StarCraft 2 who are no longer able to make StarCraft because it didn't make numbers that I suppose began with a B. Rather, it made ones that began with an M, and a few other great topics. Today's video brought to you by our sponsor. Skillshare is going to help you improve your skills and better your life. The first 1,000 to click my link will get a month of Skillshare Premium for free. Now, you gotta hit up the Productivity Masterclass from Ali Abdal. I think that this is one of those core, foundations that's great, because life can be very rush, and that kind of sucks. I think that having a really good productivity system means you're going to be less stressed. You'll be rushing less, and you'll be better able to work smarter instead of harder, which gives you a bit more room for just life and chilling out and actually having fun and enjoying the journey. Of course, Ali's content is fantastic and authentic, and here he will teach you a lot of skills, knowledge, and wisdom that will help you declutter your life and get the clarity that you need to get your work done and get your life lived. It's an excellent series. It's one of the most loved on all of Skillshare, in fact. Skillshare, of course, is a wealth of career-focused classes, even beyond what you may have heard of, like video editing, photography, which I've recently actually been doing some photography stuff so I can learn more and actually use some of the kind of nice cameras we've got properly. So, be it with your job or professional life, as we covered today, or learning a new platform like, say, Shopify, or honing your professional craft, there is so much useful knowledge from Skillshare. I mean, a lot cheaper than doing my uni course, eh? The first 1,000 to click my link will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium for a month, which is awesome. So you can hit up their link down below. Thanks to them for sponsoring, and let's go. Oh man, Overwatch 2. Right, let's get into things. So, Season 5 isn't even out yet, but plans are being unveiled for Overwatch 2 Season 6. This will come with 3 co-op PvE missions. They've got a new enemy type as well. Blizzard say that they are massive maps with complex objectives and an in-depth storyline that will guide you through the whole thing. Now, there has actually been hands-on gameplay here. These are about 30 minutes long per mission. They cannot be played in single player, and they come with lore files as a part of the opening introduction. So, of course, it's very much then Overwatch content. You're not exactly going to be playing this as if you're doing a single-player experience. You put your headphones on, you get all immersed in a narrative. No, it's not that. It's more of a co-op narrative experience. It's also an interestingly monetized experience, which is kind of double bad. Because not only do people feel like they are getting less than what was promised, right, initially, they're also feeling like they've got to pay for less. And the pay bit, that is the news that we now have right after all the negativity, right? So this is just doubling down on bad public relations for Blizzard. And it turns out that our worst fears are true. Actually, it's even worse than our worst fears, which really is kind of impressive. So well done, Blizzard. Right, these are part of the whole live service thing, and they are very much monetized. Now, initially, the way that Blizzard framed this was permanent access to these. So people thought, right, these are going to come and then they're going to go when the season ends, and if you want to keep on playing them, you'll have to pay in some way. Well, this is the way that it works, where it says, you can get started on your mission to save the world with the Invasion Bundle. That includes permanent access to the Invasion story missions, 1,000 Overwatch coins, that's enough for an entire premium battle pass, a brand new Sojourn legendary skin, $19 US value, and permanent access to Sojourn as a playable hero for new players unlocked upon completing the story missions. Now, here is the funny thing. So, Tyler over at PC Gamer got in contact with a Blizzard Entertainment representative, and here are his bullet point clarifications for how this actually works. Number one, the $15 Invasion bundle is required to play the story missions. This bundle includes, yes, those coins, includes Sojourn, all that stuff, and access to the missions will be permanent. Now, you're not going to be able to purchase these story missions separate from the bundle, right? So it's not like you'll be able to spend, say, 500 Overwatch credits on one of these. Now, that actually is kind of rough, because a player who is playing just with the Overwatch coins that you earn by doing your weekly challenges, number one, if they diligently did all of their weekly challenges, they would just now be able to purchase a legendary skin via gameplay. But at least if it was, say, 500 coins or something reasonable, then a free player could use their free coins on the mission. No, that is... yeah, that's not the case. So you'll be able to buy the story missions at any point in time, even when Season 6 ends, and if you want to play these with a group, everybody has got to own the Invasion bundle, and if there aren't enough players in the queue, you will be grouped up with bots. Remember, this is not a single-player experience, so you buy this, and your friends will have to buy it as well. Now, obviously, that is Blizzard just... Do I need to explain it? No, you know what it is. All of the people who have been absolutely clamoring for this Overwatch 2 PvE content, they finally get it. It's not all that they hoped it would be, but they're finally getting something. And now, if they want to play it with their friends, it involves money. By the way, just going to point this out for you. Back in Overwatch 1... whenever these missions came in, and they were pretty great for the time. They were free. They were just a part of the event. Blizzard, I think, monetized them via skins and that sort of thing, where people could be rolling for those loot boxes. But you could just play it, or you could just play it. That was it. Now you can also pay $40. Because why spend $15 when you could spend $40 and get even more value? Well, you'll get the Battle Pass outright, you'll get another 1,000 coins, so 2,000 coins total, and 2 more legendary skins for Kiriko and Cassidy. Of course, these are valued at $30, $20, and $38 respectively, so I suppose it's just shy of 200% value. How could you not do that? Of course, if you already have Sojourn unlocked, who knows if that will be a dynamic bundle that'll make it a bit cheaper. But I've actually got even better news for you, fellow gamers. You have more consumption opportunities within Overwatch. There's a new catch-up bundle. $5 for the legacy heroes, 3 legacy skins, and 1,500 credits. Those are the legacy credits for the legacy cosmetics. Or you can get all of that plus 6 new heroes, 1,000 coins, and 3 more legacy skins for $20. Because... yeah, obviously, we live in hell. And while Blizzard may have made quite a few positive changes with Overwatch, it is struggling already with Season 4. This Season 6 stuff is really looking like they're trying to rinse people a bit harder, and it very much seems that rather than expand what Overwatch is and put in the hard work to get to players, it is very much the... no, we are going to juice and rinse what we have now, because that will make the line go up right now, instead of, you could perhaps say, generating long-term brand value by, focusing and growing your game, fostering your community, having goodwill exist, things like that. So, pretty damn bad for Blizzard, I've got to say. Next, though, this is another game that I'm very much looking forward to. Starfield. Well, apparently every QA person at Microsoft's working on it, basically. Okay, QA doing games within Microsoft. This was basically a chat with Giant Bomb, and yes, this is what was dropped. This is Phil Spencer, by the way. Microsoft gave Bethesda more time for Starfield, and every QA person under Xbox is working on Starfield. Now again, whenever we see ZeniMax do things under their own power, we're getting, of course, your Launch 76, we're getting your Redfall situations, you're getting the likes of Youngblood, where machine games are just quite, not really used to do what they're good at. So it actually seems this might be a case where unlike with the Redfall situation, I think Microsoft knew that Starfield was one of the most important bits of IP with this acquisition. I very much imagine if they were hands-off with Redfall, they would not have been hands-off here. So yes, every QA person in our entire company playing Starfield right now, looking at bug counts, looking at quality, and where we are. Now, of course, there's probably a bit of hyperbole there. I doubt it's every single QA person, but I think their point is that they are putting a humongous amount of QA work into this. Obviously, a game like Starfield, it is very large. That does mean there can be bugs. And apparently what's good here is that looking at the sheer bug counts, right, just by the numbers, if the game shipped today, they say it would be the fewest bugs in any game that Bethesda has ever shipped. Look, that does bode well. Obviously, though, don't pre-order based on that, and only time will tell. Now, in light of breaking news, next, we got some rumbly business for Activision Blizzard. So here's the deal, right? We found out that the Federal Trade Commission, who are very important in the USA, that they are actually going to try and block the Activision Blizzard merger, right? So they're bringing a case to federal court to have this blocked from proceeding. Microsoft to this basically said, well, we welcome this process, and our approval will be accelerated if it is done in this format. I think the very bullish take there is that doing it like this would actually be faster than it going all slow and internally within the FTC. But the reason why I glossed over that pretty quickly is because there's a key update to this story that has only just happened. So the way that this would have worked, right, previously, is that they still could have merged, but they would have to accept the liability that whatever the legal stuff happens, if it doesn't go in their way, that they would have to then unmerge. The update to the story is that Microsoft has temporarily been restrained legally from buying Activision Blizzard. So yes, as Tom Warren reports, the FTC has secured a temporary restraining order on them that will last until the court rules on the preliminary injunction in a hearing starting June the 22nd. Basically, yeah, they don't have like 8 or 9 days to make funny business, in case they were going to round that through. Now, in this specific case, June the 22nd, that date is kind of fine for Activision Blizzard. Well, the date that wouldn't have been good is if it was going past the, basically the clause where if Microsoft doesn't make the merger or doesn't have the merger go through by that date, they've got to pay a termination fee to Activision Blizzard. So this stuff doesn't interrupt that. It's just that now there is a restraining order, so they can't ram it through with the hope of the legal case going well. And to go back to the idea of this actually accelerating the whole process, we do have some dates here. So the Xbox response has to be by the 16th of June, FTC follow-up 4 days after that, court hearing 2 days after that. So this, in a way, is actually, I don't want to say it's good for them, right? But it does mean that some clarity will actually be obtained relatively quickly, which I at least imagine that to the humans involved in this, they probably just, they just want it to be done. Anyway, that's that situation. Obviously, we'll have some pretty big news within, like, 10 days. Okay, next thing then, something I want to highlight from Summer Game Fest, and that is StormGate. The first StormGate gameplay trailer is here. Now, I saw a few people talking about, like, graphical fidelity and stuff. I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Like, this, number one, is pre-alpha, and also, this is a genre where unit readability is the thing that is really important. Certainly, I thought that this was an excellent way to show the game off, and if you're thinking, quite a lot of StarCraft in that. Yeah, absolutely. This is the StarCraft team, in many ways, who are specifically pissed off that they can't make StarCraft anymore, and basically their mission is to go and make StarCraft, right? There's TLO. If you follow StarCraft, you'll know him. They have a lot of community engagement with the pros, right? They're really good at community stuff. This is what I thought to be particularly interesting. The way that smaller units, like this sort of like dog scout creature, that they can, and humans as well, like they can go through the forests, but like the big mechs can't go through the forest, which is like another little layer of strategy and another tool that they have for their map design that I thought was like actually pretty interesting. So overall for me, when I was looking at this gameplay, I essentially thought, as somebody who has bought, you know, all the StarCrafts, who really loves StarCraft, my thought is, this is pretty much exactly what I want to see, because it's so sad that StarCraft 2 basically doesn't get to exist, because it's not bringing in those sort of make Bobby happy, make Bean Counter happy. It's not bringing in that quantity of money. But this team knows that the amount of money that a game like StarCraft does bring in is something that is actually really stable and really healthy. It's just not healthy enough for Blizzard to decide to dedicate an entire big team to it when they could be doing other things instead. You know, it all comes down to opportunity cost. And in this case, that's less relevant because these are people who are passionate about this game, passionate about this genre, and the reason they are doing this project is to keep that flame alive. So thus far, like, in a way, so far, so StarCraft, but with iteration, which is exactly what I want to see. More iteration, and I suppose more freedom compared to what they previously would have been able to do. So really, of all, I just wish these guys the best of success. I'm definitely cheering for them from the sidelines, and this really is a game that I absolutely do want to play. To move on then, very interesting, OTK are actually launching a indie publishing label called Mad Mushroom. What is neat with this, though, is they're working with some industry vets. Mike Sibwitz is one example, worked at Krafton, NCSoft, and Square Enix. So basically he's trying to make sure that they're not really making mistakes that others do. I mean, man, the amount of times, like, even professional indie publishers make kind of sort of baffling choices with what they sign, how they run things. It's very hard to do a publisher right. Often you even end up in a situation where if a publisher is trying to be very, you know, responsible and manage their risk, that can actually incur so much of a management overhead that it makes the development that they're funding way, way more inefficient, because they're basically just drowning the company in, you know, in grunt work. So it really is hard to get publishing right. So that they've got some pros in is definitely a good thing. What they're basically touting is like, yeah, look, we can get the money. They say that lets them be developer first, and then a lot of audience community building stuff, which makes complete sense because, yes, it is OTK. This was announced at the OTK Games Expo, which, of course, is now in its second year. We've got a bit of a connection to that. Our game, Pale Beyond, was actually at the first OTK Games Expo. It was pretty sweet. Got us a bunch of wish lists on Steam. We were all very happy about that. And yeah, that's essentially what's going on. Now, in terms of what they are trying to target, they want to work with people who are trying to make their game fun to watch. So if you're maybe doing like a narrative role-playing game, I'm assuming less, right? Unless it has some sort of element that is going to be tailored towards watchability, which in fairness is a fairly interesting design space. So it seems like they are not, I don't want to say staying in their lane because there's like a connotation in that, but they're really trying to focus in on where their community makes the most sense. They've got some pros in. I think they have the money and the cash flow. They're a diversified enough business, and I'd imagine that means that there are some of the short-term financial incentives that perhaps other publishers have that they really wouldn't have to be as worried about, especially because if they do publish a bad game, then a lot of this community stuff does get flipped against them. So I actually think this is quite a good situation where things are fairly, you know, fairly in alignment, even as they say, we're public figures. If we're not giving people good deals, it's going to come back and haunt us. That's also true. They can be hit so much harder for any rumbly business than a normal publisher. So I think the alignment of incentives is actually pretty damn good for that. And the final thing is a bit of a funny, I suppose technically some spoilers, but yeah, you know, you've some funny merch going on, like your Mass Effect companion body pillows. Weird ass merch, they're doing it. But they've got a new one. They've got a new one, which is it's a part of a series commending some of the more emotional moments in Mass Effect. And yes, this is just dead Floaty Shepherd. And what's been funny about this is they've now pulled it. And I don't think it's been an outrage, it's more of been a collective confusion. And they've said that they've pulled this and they want to reassess how they actually do it. Funny little story, game merch. Yeah. So that's basically that for today's news. I've got to say, with today's stories, I mean, all fascinating, but that stuff with Overwatch is just insane. The people who are making these decisions are not really seemingly that well aligned with the frontline experience of playing their game. And whenever you want to create long-term brand value, right, whenever you are playing a 5-year game, 10-year game, you don't want to have these things happening in the short term. They are not coming from a position of strength within Overwatch. If you actually look, one of the things that I want to do as a catch-up on Overwatch, it might come out late this week, maybe it'll be early next week, because I was looking, I was like, okay, look at all this seasonal content. That's kind of insane that they've had these 9-week seasons, and it's seemingly been successful. A bunch of people in the comments are like, oh, dude, there are some good things, but maybe you should look closer. I say thank you to you for those comments, because I did look at things, and even seeing the Twitch average viewership, just that line go down, is quite brutal. Because number one, it's a free-to-play game, and number two, this is not a game that is designed to allow for line go down in terms of, like, you know, its engagement. This is a lifestyle game. This is the sort of game that should have a stable, non-constantly falling Twitch audience. And it doesn't seem to have that, which honestly was enough smoke for me to assume that there is some fire. So look forward to that later next week, maybe early, or later this week, maybe early next week. But that is it for today's video. If you want to check out our other coverage of all these recent events, it's been pretty interesting. You can do that. I just published a video on the Diablo 4 store. As much as I'm basically loving the experience of Diablo 4, yes, I do think, as that video was titled, that the store does take the piss, especially when you compare it to other Blizzard free-to-play titles and some other things in the market. That said, I did learn that you can spend $8 for a pair of gloves in Path of Exile, which was kind of surprising. Alright, that's it from me. Thanks to you for watching, thanks to our sponsor for sponsoring, and I'll see you next time.